Okay, I lost everyone's faces, or most people. I hope that you are still there. Much nicer to see faces here. Fantastic. Okay, so let us, sorry for that. It was a technical glitch. I just lost all electricity, but here we are, we're back online. I hope it is stable. So let us go back to where we were. In the temple itself, we have a commandment in the Torah, which tells us on a specific days, we are supposed to have additional offerings. Okay, when are those? And specifically, that the extra offerings that were offered in the temple were on the Shabbat and on the holidays which are mentioned in the Torah. So if we look at the calendar year if we look at when those offerings would be, so basically every Shabbat, after the morning offering, they would offer an additional offering. The name of that offering was the Mussaf, which means addition, an additional offering. So the Mussaf was added after the Shacharit. When was it added? In the morning or before the 7th hour of the day. Okay, so that's the time frame for the Mussaf. And then you have the Chagim. What does it mean to have different holidays? The specific holidays that are mentioned in the Torah, there was always a Mussaf. So if we go through the year, for example, Rosh Hashanah, there was a Mussaf offering, an additional offering. On Yom Kippur, there was an additional offering. On Sukkot, there was an additional offering. Shmini Atzeret, the last day which was an additional holiday after Sukkot, then there was an offering. Then if we go forward in the calendar year, if I would ask you, for example, on Chanukah and Purim, was there a Mussaf offering in the temple? Yes or no?
No.
No. Okay. You're the courageous one, Lars. Why do you say no?
Because they're not mentioned in the Torah.
Exactly. So what you just mentioned is exactly how I should understand. Okay, so it's exactly the right answer. So thank you. Why? Because it can be confusing because we're used to, well, I have an extra holiday, so do I have the Mussaf or do I not? And the answer is I have the Mussaf when I had a specific Mussaf offering. So therefore, since Purim and Chanukah were added by the Chachamim, were added by our sages after the temple period, and they're not mentioned in the Torah, so we don't have the Mussaf. Okay, so that's a very simple equation. So any of either the holidays that we have from Chachamim, from our sages, which were added on Chanukah and Purim, or any of the smaller holidays, such as Tu B'Shvat, right? Or if we think of the modern day holidays, such as Yom Ha'atzmaut, for example, these are obviously, we don't have Mussaf on these days because these were added later. There are days of celebration of Thanksgiving, but we don't add the Mussaf because it's instead of, it's there in replacement for that offering of the Mussaf. So if we continue through the year, Chanukah we will not have, Tu B'Shvat we won't have, Purim we will not have, and then we end up in Pesach. Pesach is obviously a holiday from the Torah. So Pesach, we will have the Mussaf. Let's go forward again. So then if we go forward, we're going to hit Shavuot, the holiday which we just had, which is one of the 3 holidays from the Torah in which we would, Shloshet HaRegalim, the 3 in which we would all go up to Jerusalem. We have 3 holidays of pilgrimage, basically, and Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. So those are the days of that we have the Mussaf. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Pesach, and Shavuot. After Shavuot, we're now into the summer break, also in terms of holidays. We don't have any further holidays until we end up with Rosh Hashanah again. So that is when we have the Mussaf, which is based on the Shabbat and the holidays. One more day, which there was a Mussaf, which was mentioned here in the chat. Thank you. When do we also have the Mussaf? And Rosh Chodesh. Rosh Chodesh is a unique case because we're not used to thinking of it as a major holiday, but actually, according to the Torah, is the first day of the month, the first day of the lunar month is a day of celebration. It's called Rosh Chodesh, and there would be a Mussaf on this day. So therefore, you will have a Mussaf on whenever day Rosh Chodesh ends up. How do we, in other words, depending on the lunar cycle, so Rosh Chodesh could be on a Tuesday, on a Wednesday, on a Thursday. Doesn't have to be on the Shabbat. So if we go, we should know that we'll have an extra prayer of Thanksgiving, the Hallel prayer on the Rosh Chodesh, and we will have the Mussaf as well. So even on a regular day, we will have additions throughout Rosh Chodesh that we will, but that are not connected to this shiur, which are not about the Amidah, but the Mussaf itself will be added to those prayers. So just to summarize, when we will have the Mussaf prayer, we'll have the Mussaf on the Shabbat, on Rosh Chodesh, on Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Shmini Atzeret, Pesach, and Shavuot. Okay, so that is in terms of the framework of the Mussaf itself. What does the Mussaf look like? The Mussaf is always a combination of two things. First of all, we mention the Mussaf offering as it is mentioned in the Torah. So we give the framework of the temple service. We add and say the actual offering. We say the words which describe the actual offering and what that offering was comprised of in the temple service. And then we also, as a part, the second element is longing, or a prayer for the fact that we long to go back to the temple. So there's a description of how beautiful it used to be in the temple. Our prayer for the fact that due to our sins, we're expelled, exiled from the land, our longing to return to the land, and then we mentioned the words of the offering itself. So this is the Mussaf prayer and how it looks. So obviously it will change according to each of the days. The Mussaf of the Shabbat, we'll talk about the Mussaf of the Shabbat. The Mussaf of Shavuot will be different because there was a different offering on Shavuot itself. So it will change accordingly, but it is very focused on the temple, on the longing for the temple, and longing to return to the temple, and what the temple service looked like. That is the essence of the Mussaf itself. If we, I don't know if I have here, I saw that if we look, for example, Mussaf LeShabbat, I'm going to open the Amidah. Again, the three first brachot are always the same, as we said. And then the sanctity of the day of the Mussaf is exactly what we said. I see they don't have the English version, but if you all open your Sidurim now to the Mussaf prayer, please do so. So the Mussaf prayer on Shabbat will come after after the Torah reading. So we have the Shacharit, we have the Amidah of the Shacharit, then we'll have the Torah reading, and following the Torah reading, we will have the Mussaf. So the Mussaf, when is the Mussaf added? As we said, just like the offerings, it's added after the Shacharit. So we will have an additional prayer every Shabbat morning. So we have the Shacharit and the Mussaf. So in the middle of the Amidah will be the same. We have the three brachot which begin, and then you will see where in which we mention the Mussaf. For example, on Shabbat, we will say on the day of the Sabbath, there were two lambs, a year old, that were offered and together with them, there was an offering of a specific offering of a flour, an oil that was added to that, and this is what is comprised of the base of the Mussaf of the Shabbat, of the special offering for the Shabbat. So this will change accordingly. On Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, the Mussaf is a very special Mussaf because it's not only related to the offerings of that day, but it's also related to the high holidays, and we will add in the Mussaf special parts about God as the king, for example, God ruling the world. The Mussaf will be extremely long during both Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, because it's not only focused on those offerings, it's mostly focused on a different on the essence of the Rosh Hashanah and the Yom Kippur. So that's a separate that's something that as we get close to Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, it's definitely something that you can use your summer break to do, to get yourself prepared for the high holidays, and just to learn and practice the prayers for Rosh Hashanah and for Yom Kippur. So we won't go into that now. But basically, to go back to this idea of the Mussaf itself, the Mussaf, we discussed when we have the Mussaf, the essence of the Mussaf, which is the offering and longing for the temple service, and how it will change according to the day. So on Rosh Chodesh, we will mention the Rosh Chodesh offering, on Shabbat, the Shabbat offering, etc., etc. During the Pesach, Shavuot we just had, we'll mention that as well. So basically, this creates a situation in which the three prayers, usually we say we have 3 prayers a day. On these specific days, we will actually have 4 prayers. We have 4 times that we will have the Amidah. We have the 3 regular, the Shacharit, the Mincha, and the Arvit, and then after the Shacharit, we will have the Mussaf. The time frame for the Mussaf, as we said, is before the 7th hour of the day. So basically, that's why we add it after the Shacharit. So it's the addition that we will have as part of the morning service in the shul, in the Bet Knesset. If you're not at the synagogue, you can add it yourself and add that Amidah. And before you do this is before we make the Kiddush, before we have the morning meal, which is many times an afternoon meal actually. So before the Kiddush, we should make sure that we have said both the Shacharit and the Mussaf. Any questions? I hope this has been clear in terms of the framework and the essence. And of course, it's up to you to, after we have like a shiur like this, I hope that you put some time aside to actually look at the Mussaf Shabbat prayer, because in the shiur, I only have the time here to give you the framework. But the essence itself and the wording and practicing, and if you're going to be even hopefully praying in Hebrew, so it's something that you need to take your private time to focus and to learn. So on the framework itself, I hope everything was clear. And any further questions? Okay, fantastic. So if you do have any okay, we have a question. What is the channel from where I can see? That's a good question. Let me look 1 second. Apparently, 1 second. Apparently, there's a YouTube channel. I just added it. 1 second. I didn't send it to everyone. 1 second. Here. I think that all of the shiurim are supposed to be uploaded to this channel, going back to the beginning of these shiurim of the. So last week's shiur and this week's shiur as well, I have to manage to send over. They're quite large and I don't upload them myself. So we'll have to do that technically. But besides that, I think that they should all go to this link and you can access all of the shiurim. So I wish everyone a fantastic week. Shavua Tov to everyone. Mazal Tov to Liat. If you have any further questions, you're welcome to send them over, or anything that was unclear from the shiur, you can send the questions over to the email that you received the information for the shiur. Last question, I have another